This is the visual that defines a collapsing presidency. Walk past 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue this morning, and you won't see the stately symbol of American democracy. You'll see a disaster zone. A massive, mud-filled crater where the historic East Wing once stood. Silent yellow cranes tower like vultures over the executive mansion. And for the first time in 6 months, there's something terrifyingly quiet silence. As of 8 o'clock in the morning, Monday, January 26th, 2026, all construction on President Trump's $400 million Grand Ballroom has been ordered to an immediate, indefinite halt. The ballroom from hell, as preservationists have called it, is dead in the water. A federal judge, a Ronald Reagan appointee no less, has just issued a blistering 40-page injunction. It doesn't just stop the work. It accuses the administration of willful deception, statutory vandalism, and gross fiscal negligence. Trump, already reeling from the Davos disaster, the Japan bond crash, and the seizure of his New York properties, has just been blindsided in his own backyard. He expected concrete being poured for his monument today. Instead, a federal marshal taped a cease and desist order to the White House construction fence. The official reason? The money is gone. The private donations that were supposed to fund this massive vanity project evaporated the moment the markets cracked. Without the cash, the judge ruled the president is effectively squatting on public land, destroying national heritage with an unfunded mandate. This halted construction site is now a perfect metaphor for a second term that has completely run out of road. The king wanted a castle, he got a hole in the ground. To understand the full severity, we rewind to late 2025. Fresh off his inauguration, Trump announced the most ambitious and destructive White House renovation in history. The East Room? Too small, too ugly, third world, he called it in a leaked memo to his chief of staff. His solution? The Grand Ballroom, a 90,000 square foot extension meant to rival the palaces of Europe. Gold leaf detailing, 30-foot ceilings, a victory balcony facing the Treasury Department. Price tag? $400 million. The pitch was simple. Taxpayers wouldn't pay a dime. Private patriots, billionaire donors, had pledged the full amount. A gift to the nation. The cost, however, wasn't just financial. Historical destruction was required. To build, the East Wing had to be demolished. Family theater, First Lady's offices, historic gardens, all bulldozed. Preservationists screamed. The National Trust sued. You cannot tear down a UNESCO-adjacent site just for a bigger dance floor, they argued. Trump bulldozed anyway. In December, his DOJ played the national security card, claiming the new structure would include a state-of-the-art underground bunker to replace the aging Presidential Emergency Operations Center. Judge Richard Leon allowed demolition under strict conditions. You can dig the hole, but no concrete until the money is in the bank and the design approved. Trump gambled. He tore it down, assuming the money and permits would follow. He assumed he could bully donors and regulators. He assumed wrong. This morning, Judge Leon returned to the bench, and according to the courtroom, he was furious. The transcript reads less like a legal opinion, more like an indictment of the entire administration. The administration admitted in a sealed Friday filing that the $400 million in private funding is missing. The pledge was based on non-binding commitments from the usual MAGA donor class hedge fund managers, real estate moguls, casino tycoons. But with the Japan bond crash, the Davos fiasco, and asset seizures, those pledges evaporated. And now, the Grand Ballroom is dead. The hole remains. The legacy crumbles. The donors? They're gone. Facing margin calls, watching their portfolios bleed red ink, they ghosted the moment the Treasury Department called to collect the actual cash for the ballroom fund. One major donor, a Las Vegas casino magnate who had pledged $50 million, formally withdrew his pledge Saturday night, citing market volatility and fiduciary responsibility. Judge Leon's ruling was brutal. The executive branch has demolished a historic federal structure on the promise of replacement funds that do not exist. This court will not allow the People's House to be turned into an abandoned construction site fueled by phantom capital and broken promises. He ordered an immediate stop work order. The GSA must provide a plan to restore the site, fill in the hole, if funding isn't secured within 30 days. Imagine the optics. The President of the United States might be forced by a federal judge to fill in a hole he dug himself, leaving the White House smaller, uglier, and less functional than when he arrived. He will go down in history as the president who destroyed the East Wing and left a patch of mud in its place. And the so-called national security excuse completely collapsed. For months, The White House claimed the ballroom was essential for continuity of government. A fortified basement, a new situation room, impenetrable. Today, the judge unsealed a classified Secret Service report. The administration tried to hide it, but the Secret Service opposed the project. The open pit exposes the east side to drone attacks, acoustic surveillance, and tunneling risks. The glass-walled ballroom, a sniper's paradise, and a surveillance magnet. The judge caught the administration in a lie. National security was a pretext. In reality, the project harmed national security. The ballroom is not a government necessity. It is vanity on federal land, and under the Antiquities Act and National Historic Preservation Act, you cannot destroy national monuments for personal glory. The media has already dubbed it the ballroom from hell, and it perfectly traps the president in a legal and political inferno. The optics are devastating. Politics is optics, and Trump is a man obsessed with image. Gold towers, perfect suits, absolute control. Instead, he is living in a construction site. His view from the residence, a mud pit, idle machinery, piles of dirt, orange safety fencing. For months, staffers have endured meetings in the Oval Office interrupted by reversing trucks and pile drivers. Now, with work stopped, the site becomes a monument to failure. Every foreign leader must be driven past the Trump crater. The UK Prime Minister? Their motorcade will pass a hole covered in blue tarps. Every news stand-up shows the yellow cranes looming. It is a constant, physical, undeniable reminder that the president started something he couldn't finish. Compare this to his great builder persona: I build things ahead of schedule, under budget, I will rebuild America. This project, behind schedule. Over budget, unfunded, now illegal. The theme is insolvency. The donors fled not just because of the Japan crash, but because the brand is toxic. After the Davos disaster, putting your name on a Trump ballroom became a liability. CEOs, hedge fund managers, billionaires, they didn't want their names associated with a project being sued by every preservation group in the country. The next president, likely a Democrat according to polls, could tear it down in 2029. Who wants to invest $50 million in a monument that won't survive the next administration? The donors used the Japan crash as an excuse to flee. They saw subpoenas coming. They closed their checkbooks. Trump? He's left holding the shovel. Legally, the donors aren't safe either. The judge hinted that if funds were promised but never delivered, donors could face fraud on the court investigations if they signed affidavits claiming the money was secure. So, they are lawyering up, distancing themselves, fracturing the donor class. And the Democrats? They're already weaponizing this. House Minority Leader Haki Jeff released a statement minutes after the ruling. He tore down the East Wing, he tore down the economy, he tore down our alliances. Now he stands in the mud of his own making. He is the demolition in chief. It is a visceral metaphor. The East Wing contained history, the legacy of past First Ladies Jackie Kennedy, Nancy Reagan, Michelle Obama. By destroying it for a ballroom, Trump plays into the barbarian stereotype. By failing to rebuild, he plays into the incompetent stereotype. The poll numbers from the Wipeout survey are updating as we speak. Independents? Disgusted. Focus groups are saying things like, why is he building a $400 million ballroom when gas is $6 a gallon? He cares more about his parties than my grocery bill. The contrast between Trump's luxury obsession and voters' economic pain is lethal. It reinforces the let-them-eat-cake narrative. And the Republican senators? Quietly furious. They have to defend this. They have to explain on TV why the White House now looks like a strip mine. A moderate Senate Republican, echoing Romney's old guard, told sources on background, "This is what happens when you govern by whim, not by law." We warned him not to touch the East Wing. Now we all look like vandals. There's talk of a Senate inquiry. The Senate Committee on Public Works might call the GSA administrator to testify. If that happens, it will be a televised disaster for the administration. So what happens next? The judge gave them 30 days? Find $400 million or fill in the hole. Can Trump find the money? He could try diverting funds from the military, like with the border wall in his first term. But the judge anticipated that. The order specifically bars the use of appropriated funds without Congress. And Congress isn't giving him a dime. Could a foreign power pay for it? Imagine the Saudi ballroom scandal. A foreign government funding a White House addition. Instantly impeachable. Violates the emoluments clause in the most direct way possible. The most likely scenario? Humiliating. The GSA hires a contractor to pour dirt back into the hole, plant grass, restore the exterior wall. And the Trump ballroom becomes a phantom limb of history. He wanted a palace. He's leaving fresh sod where a historic building used to stand. It is a symbol of a presidency that promised greatness and delivered destruction. Let's contextualize what was lost. The East Wing wasn't just offices. Built during World War II under FDR to hide the construction of the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, it stood for over 80 years. It housed the First Lady's staff, the engine of soft power. It was the entrance for visitors. Tours began here. By tearing it down without a plan, Trump severed the social arm of the White House. Melania Trump, or the acting First Lady, has been reportedly homeless within the complex, her staff working out of a spare room in the Eisenhower Executive Office building across the street. The ballroom was supposed to be her legacy. Now it is her embarrassment. Internal friction between East Wing and West Wing staff is palpable. The National Trust for Historic Preservation, usually polite and quiet, sued a sitting president. For them, this was an existential threat. They argued, the White House is not the president's property. It belongs to the people. Trump treated it like Mar-a-Lago North, like a teardown in Palm Beach. The judge's ruling reinforces a critical legal principle: stewardship, not ownership. Every renovation now will be scrutinized. Every wall, every floor, every permit, microscopically watched. Here's a detail the mainstream news missed: the construction crews. Union laborers, crane operators, cement pourers. When the Japan shock hit Friday, the unions demanded payment assurance. They know Trump's history. The contractor couldn't guarantee it. The unions walked off the job before the judge's order. The judge just ratified reality: no pay, no play. Trump, the self-proclaimed builder, lost the builder's support. The image of union workers walking off a Trump job site is a powerful signal to working-class voters. And the national security lie? The current Situation Room in the West Wing was fully renovated in 2024, state-of-the-art, $50 million. Intelligence officials testified putting the most secure room under a dance floor next to a catering kitchen was insane. The judge saw this testimony. It was the smoking gun proving the national security claim was a pretext. Legally, the White House counsel could be in danger. If affidavits claimed funds were secured when they were only promised, that's potentially perjury. The judge wants donor commitments by Wednesday. Names, signatures, actual money. If the funds never existed, someone could go to jail. Not the president, maybe the GSA administrator, maybe the campaign finance chair. This turns a construction dispute into a criminal fraud investigation. The ballroom from hell is the perfect capstone to a week of disasters. It started with a lie at Davos, continued with a financial crash in Tokyo, hit home with a property seizure in New York, and ends with a hole in the ground in Washington. The structure of the Trump presidency is collapsing. Foundations, money, fear, image, competence, gone. He's under siege in his own home. He can't build, he can't borrow, he can't brag. The only thing left? Rage at the mud outside his window. We'll be monitoring GSA filings closely. When they issue a remediation contract, that will be the moment the Trump era officially runs out of concrete. The builder president has become the destroyer president. And the hole in the ground on Pennsylvania Avenue is the undeniable proof.